Howard Pinnacle's son slapped me right in the middle of the company gala. Big mistake, I'd been documenting his screw-ups for months. Let me back up a second. My name is Garrett Thompson, I'm 55 years old, and I've been running operations at Pinnacle Industries for 26 years. Before that, I spent 6 years in the Marines handling logistics. Point is, I know how things are supposed to work, and I know what happens when they don't. So there I was at this fancy company retreat up at Thunder Ridge Resort, giving my quarterly safety presentation to the board. Everything's going fine until Adrian Pinnacle decides he's had enough of listening to the old guy talk about protocols. Adrian's 21, fresh off dropping out of Wharton's MBA program, and Daddy just made him junior executive director. What that really means is he's got an office bigger than mine and thinks 26 years of experience is something you can just Google. These protocols are bureaucratic paralysis. He interrupts, not even waiting for me to finish explaining our incident reduction numbers. We're losing efficiency to outdated thinking. Now I've seen this before. Young hotshot comes in, wants to shake things up, prove himself. Usually I just let them learn the hard way, but this kid had real authority, and real authority in the wrong hands gets people hurt. I straightened my cufflinks, old habit when I'm processing something, and kept my voice steady. Sir, these protocols prevented 12 major incidents this quarter alone. Prevented alleged incidents, he shoots back, walking up to my presentation screen like he owns the place, which technically his family does. We can't measure things that didn't happen. That's when I knew we had a serious problem. You spend 6 years keeping Marines alive in logistics operations, you learn to spot dangerous thinking real quick. This wasn't just arrogance. This was the kind of stupidity that gets people killed. But I didn't react. Not yet. I had work to do first. See, this whole mess started 6 months earlier when Howard announced Adrian was joining the company. Learning operations from the ground up, he said during our quarterly leadership meeting, except Adrian's version of ground up came with a corner office and the power to override decisions I'd been making since before he could drive. Our first real clash was over vendor contracts. I'd just locked in better terms with our steel supplier. Took me 3 months of negotiations based on our 15-year relationship with them. Adrian walks into my office, glances at the paperwork for about 30 seconds, and shakes his head. Cancel it, he says, just like that. I found a cheaper option online. That supplier hasn't been vetted, I tell him. Our current vendor has a 99.7% reliability rating over 15 years. Reliability's expensive, Adrian says, like he just discovered capitalism. We're not running a charity here, so I did what any smart operations manager does. I smiled, nodded, and then quietly ran a full background check on his miracle vendor. Quality issues, delivery delays, 3 safety violations in the past year. The kind of stuff that sounds great until your production line shuts down because somebody shipped you substandard steel. I documented everything. Every conversation, every stupid decision, every time I had to quietly fix something he broke. Started keeping what I called my insurance folder. Had a feeling I was going to need it. This became our pattern. Adrian would demand some change that looked good on a spreadsheet but ignored reality. I'd implement something that looked like what he wanted while actually maintaining safety standards. He got his efficiency numbers, the company kept running. My insurance folder got thicker. The real trouble started when Adrian decided our workforce was bloated with legacy thinking. That's corporate speak for fire all the old guys. He wanted to eliminate what he called redundant positions, which meant laying off anyone over 50 who couldn't adapt to his streamlined processes. These guys are dead weight, he tells me during what was supposed to be a routine efficiency review. Half of them still use paper backup logs instead of going fully digital. Those paper logs saved our operation when the network went down last month, I explain. We maintained full production while our competitors were dead in the water. Adrian waves his hand like he's swatting a fly. Technical difficulties happen. We adapt and move on. No, I say, feeling for my other cufflink this time, we prepare for technical difficulties. That's what separates professionals from amateurs. He leans forward and gives me this smile that isn't friendly at all. You're part of the problem, Thompson. Either you help modernize this department, or you become another redundancy. I looked him straight in the eye. Son, I've been modernizing this department since before you could tie your shoes, but modernization doesn't mean throwing away institutional knowledge. His jaw gets tight, we'll see about that. Soon as he left, I opened my laptop and added our entire conversation to my insurance folder. Then I made copies. Multiple copies, filed them in different places. 2 weeks before the retreat, Adrian made his biggest mistake yet. He ordered the removal of what he called excessive safety protocols in our main production facility. Instead of checking equipment every day, we'd do it weekly. Instead of monitoring temperatures every hour, we'd check every 2 hours. Instead of 6-person emergency response teams, we'd make do with 4. I didn't fight him on it publicly. Instead, I documented the changes and sent a heads up to our insurance carrier about the protocol modifications. Then I gave our biggest client Westfield Manufacturing, a courtesy notice about our operational adjustments. Within 48 hours, my phone was ringing. Insurance wanted a detailed risk assessment. Westfield wanted guarantees that quality wouldn't suffer. Adrian had just created liability exposure he didn't even understand, but I wasn't done collecting evidence yet. I spent the next week doing what I called informal quality checks. Really, I was building a case that would hold up under scrutiny. Talked to every floor supervisor, documented every concern, photographed every near-miss incident that happened under Adrian's new streamlined protocols. By the time we headed up to Thunder Ridge Resort for the company retreat, I had 47 pages of documentation showing exactly how this kid's efficiency improvements were creating operational chaos. Safety incidents up 23%. Equipment downtime increased 18%. 3 separate vendor complaints about rushed delivery schedules. All I needed was the right moment to use it. The retreat was supposed to be a celebration. Pinnacle Industries just posted record profits, and Howard wanted to show the leadership team some appreciation. Mountain resort, great food, everybody feeling good about themselves. Perfect setting for what was about to happen. I'm halfway through my safety presentation when Adrian decides he's heard enough. These metrics are meaningless, he announces, cutting me off mid-sentence. We're measuring the wrong things entirely. The room goes quiet. Board members start shifting in their seats. Our biggest client rep, Janet Morrison from Westfield, stops taking notes and just stares. This isn't the time or place for operational debates. Maybe we could discuss alternative metrics after the presentation, I suggest, keeping my voice level. No, Adrian says, walking up to stand right next to me at the front of the room. This is exactly the kind of outdated thinking that's holding us back. We spend more time documenting safety than actually improving efficiency. Theodore Ashford, our board chairman, clears his throat. Adrian, perhaps we should let the presentation continue. With respect, sir, Adrian says, showing zero actual respect. This presentation represents everything wrong with our operational philosophy. Now I'm thinking, okay, kid wants to play hardball in front of the board. Let's see what he's actually got. Instead of defending my metrics, I ask him a simple question. What would you recommend as alternative measurements? For just a second, Adrian looks like he didn't expect that. Then he launches into this speech about productivity optimization and cost per unit analysis. That sounds impressive until you realize he's completely ignored the human factor in industrial operations. While he's talking, I'm watching faces around the room. Janet Morrison is taking notes again, but her expression says she's not buying what he's selling. 2 board members are checking their phones. Howard looks proud but nervous, like he knows his son is walking into traffic but can't figure out how to stop it. When Adrian finishes, I nod slowly. Those are interesting theoretical approaches. In my experience, the challenge with pure efficiency metrics is they don't account for systemic risks. Systemic risks are just fear-based thinking. Adrian shoots back. We can't let worst-case scenarios paralyze decision-making. I adjust both cufflinks. Time to bring out the big guns. Sir, with respect, worst-case scenarios are exactly what killed Corporal Jimmy Rodriguez in Kandahar when his supply officer decided redundant safety checks were inefficient. Dead silence. That story isn't in any company files. It's not in my personnel records. It's the reason I've spent 26 years making sure proper procedures get followed no matter how inconvenient they seem to hotshot executives. Adrian's face goes red. This isn't a war zone, Thompson. This is business. You're absolutely right, I say. In business, mistakes cost money. In my previous job, mistakes cost lives. I prefer the current stakes. That's when he completely loses it. You're undermining my authority, he says, voice getting louder. I won't tolerate insubordination from someone who thinks experience trumps innovation. Experience doesn't trump innovation, I reply, keeping my voice steady. Experience informs innovation. There's a difference. Adrian steps closer, close enough that I can see he's actually shaking with anger. Fire the Johnson team, he says suddenly. They questioned my efficiency recommendations last week. Now he's crossed a line. The Johnson team has 47 years of combined experience and just prevented a major equipment failure through their supposedly outdated inspection procedures. I won't be doing that, I tell him. That's an order. Adrian snaps. Orders require legitimate authority. Authority comes from competence, not inheritance. The slap comes fast, not hard enough to do damage, but loud enough that everyone in the room hears it. The sound cuts through all the polite conversation like a gunshot. For a moment, nobody moves. Janet Morrison's got her phone halfway to her ear. Theodore Ashford is half standing. Howard looks like someone just told him his company's going bankrupt. I don't touch my cheek. Don't step back. Just look at Adrian and speak in the same tone I've used for 26 years when explaining basic procedures to people who should know better. Son, I've seen leadership. This isn't it. Then I walk back to my seat, open my laptop, and send an email to Theodore Ashford with the subject line, Documentation for review, urgent. Attached all 47 pages of evidence I'd been collecting for months. Rest of the evening passes in careful politeness. Adrian leaves early with some excuse about feeling sick. Howard makes apologetic noises about family matters. I finish my dinner and listen to the board chairman discuss contingency planning in language that sounds casual but means serious business. Next morning, Howard calls me into his office. He won't look me in the eye when he starts talking. "Garrett, I'm afraid I'm going to have to check your email first," I interrupt politely. Howard opens his laptop and starts scrolling through the documentation I sent him the night before. Safety violations, cost overrun projections, insurance liability assessments, client complaints, everything I'd been carefully documenting while his son was playing CEO. When he finishes reading, his whole expression has changed. "How long have you been gathering this? Since Adrian's first week making operational decisions. It's my job to assess systemic risks." Howard closes the laptop. I didn't realize it had gotten this serious enough that our insurance carrier wants a formal safety audit, and Westfield is considering alternative suppliers if our quality metrics decline. He sits there quiet for a long time, finally asks, "What do you recommend?" Adrian needs extensive operational mentoring before he can handle independent authority, and the company needs policies preventing family appointments without demonstrated competence. That would require board approval. I smile. Theodore Ashford is expecting my formal recommendation by noon today. Howard looks at me with something between respect and resignation. "You've thought this through completely, sir. I've been thinking this through for 26 years. Every time someone with more authority than sense tries to fix something that isn't broken, the board meeting gets scheduled for that same afternoon. Emergency session, they call it. When I walk into that conference room on the 32nd floor, all 12 directors are already seated around the table. Nobody's smiling. Adrian's not there. Apparently he wasn't invited to his own performance review. Theodore Ashford doesn't waste time with pleasantries. "We've reviewed your submission, Garrett. Walk us through your findings." So I do. 47 pages of documentation, and I present every bit of it without editorial comment. Just facts, photographs, correspondence, and projected consequences. Safety incidents up 23% in 6 months. Equipment downtime increased 18%. 3 vendor complaints about rushed schedules causing quality issues. When I finish, Ashford asks the only question that matters. What happens if we ignore these findings? Regulatory shutdown within 6 months, I answer. Client contract cancellations within 3, insurance policy cancellation within 1, and probably a wrongful death lawsuit when someone gets hurt because we prioritized speed over safety. The room gets real quiet real fast. These are smart business people. They understand liability exposure. And if we address them, continued growth with proper risk management, maintained client relationships, regulatory compliance, and a succession planning process that ensures competence comes before family connections. One of the directors, I think her name's Patricia Wells, leans forward. "Mr. Thompson, you're essentially asking us to choose between the founding family and operational stability." "No, ma'am," I say. "I'm asking you to choose between short-term family politics and long-term company survival. Those don't have to be mutually exclusive, but right now, they are." Another director speaks up. "We also need to consider the reputational impact on the Pinnacle name." Beverly Martinez, our compliance director who's been sitting quietly this whole time, finally jumps in. "Our fiduciary responsibility is to shareholders and employees, not family legacy. If we ignore documented safety violations to protect family reputation, we're liable for everything that happens next. That shifts the whole dynamic. Suddenly, it's not about hurt feelings or family drama. It's about legal exposure and corporate governance." Howard, who's been sitting at the far end of the table looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, finally speaks. "I want to note for the record that I wasn't fully aware of the extent of these operational issues. The documentation shows weekly operational reports were submitted to your office," Martinez says, not unkindly, but not letting him off the hook either. "Were those not reviewed?" Howard clears his throat. "They were reviewed. I assumed the issues were being addressed through normal management channels. Normal management channels were being overridden by executive directive," I say. "That's documented too." Right then, Ashford's assistant comes in and hands him a piece of paper. He reads it, frowns, and looks up. "We just received a formal complaint from our insurance carrier. They're threatening to cancel our policy unless we complete an immediate safety audit and address all documented violations within 30 days. The room absorbs that like a physical blow. Without insurance coverage, we can't operate. Period. How did they get this information so quickly? Howard asks. "Because I sent them copies of everything when Adrian first implemented his protocol changes," I say, "along with our biggest client and the regional safety inspector. It's called due diligence. One of the younger directors, I think he's new minus, looks confused. Why would you notify external parties about internal operational changes? Because when you're responsible for workplace safety, you don't gamble with other people's lives to protect someone's feelings. If those changes had caused a serious accident, I'd be legally liable for not reporting known safety violations. That lands hard. These people understand personal liability even better than corporate liability. Ashford folds his hands on the table. Mr. Pinnacle, this board cannot ignore exposure of this magnitude. We have a fiduciary duty to address these issues immediately. For the first time since this whole mess started, Howard looks directly at me. What do you recommend for Adrian's position? Extensive operational mentoring with no independent authority until he demonstrates actual competence. Maybe a rotation through every department starting at entry level. Learn the business from the ground up for real this time. And if he refuses, I shrug. Then he's choosing his ego over the company's survival. That tells you everything you need to know about his leadership potential. The vote is unanimous. Adrian gets promoted to Senior Innovation Consultant, which is corporate speak for we're parking you somewhere you can't do damage while we figure out what to do with you. Howard agrees to implement mandatory competence assessments for all family members seeking executive roles, and they offer me the position of Vice President of Operations with full authority over safety protocols and personnel decisions. I don't celebrate. I don't feel vindicated. Mostly I feel tired. This whole situation could have been avoided if people had just listened to experience instead of dismissing it as outdated thinking, but I accept the position. Someone needs to make sure this doesn't happen again. When the meeting ends, Howard asks me to stay behind. We sit there alone for a few minutes before he speaks. I want you to know this wasn't personal. I know I tell him, but it wasn't professional either. It was family politics, and family politics don't belong in industrial operations. How do I fix this with Adrian? You don't fix it with Adrian. You fix it with the company, put systems in place. So this can't happen again, regardless of who tries it. Make competence the requirement for authority, not bloodline. Howard nods slowly. Will you help with that? It's what you're paying me for. As I walk out of that conference room, I realize something important. The revenge wasn't in watching Adrian get demoted or seeing Howard squirm. The revenge was in building something better. A system where competence actually matters. Where experience gets respected instead of dismissed. Where the next generation learns from institutional knowledge instead of trying to eliminate it. That's how real change happens. Not through drama or confrontation, but through documentation, patience, and making sure the right people have the right information at the right time. 6 months later, I'm back at Thunder Ridge Resort for our year-end celebration. This time, I'm presenting as VP of Operations, and the numbers tell a different story. 0 major safety incidents. 15% efficiency improvement through systematic process optimization. 2 new major clients who chose us specifically because of our operational stability. As I wrap up the presentation, I notice Janet Morrison from Westfield in the front row. After everyone starts heading to dinner, she walks over with a smile. Impressive turnaround, she says. Westfield's recommending you to our other suppliers as a best practice example. Consistency pays dividends, I tell her. She laughs. Consistency and competence. That's getting harder to find these days. Later that evening, I'm standing near the bar when a young engineer from our production team approaches. His name's Tommy Rodriguez, no relation to the Marine I mentioned earlier, but the coincidence isn't lost on me, Mr. Thompson. I wanted to thank you for the mentorship program, he says. It's made a real difference in how we approach problem solving. Experience shared is experience multiplied, I tell him. That's how institutional knowledge actually grows instead of getting lost. He nods seriously. Will you have time next week to review our new quality control protocols? I want to make sure we're building on proven foundations instead of reinventing everything. Always, I say. That's what I'm here for. As the evening winds down, I walk past the exact spot where Adrian slapped me a year ago. I don't feel any particular emotion about it. It's just geography now. The cufflink adjustment habit is mostly gone too. Don't need that stress response when systems are actually working properly. About 3 months after the board meeting, I got word that Adrian had taken a position with a tech startup in California. Some kind of innovation consulting role where he could disrupt industries without being responsible for actual operations. Perfect fit, really. Last I heard, the company folded after 8 months when their revolutionary approach to logistics resulted in a massive supply chain failure. But that's not my problem anymore. Howard stepped down as CEO about 4 months later. Called it early retirement, but everyone understood it was really about clearing the path for proper succession planning. The board brought in an outside candidate with 20 years of industrial experience. Smart move. We implemented the competence assessment policies across all departments, not just family appointments. Turns out when you actually measure people's ability to do their jobs, instead of just looking at their resumes or connections, you get better results. Who could have predicted that? The mentorship program has been the most satisfying part. We pair experienced employees with newer ones, not based on age but on knowledge transfer needs. Some of our best mentors are people in their 30s who've mastered complex technical skills. Some of our most eager students are veterans looking to expand into new areas. What we eliminated was the assumption that experience equals resistance to change, or that innovation requires throwing away everything that came before. Turns out you can have both systematic improvement and respect for institutional knowledge. Crazy concept, I know. Our safety record is now the best in the industry. Our efficiency metrics improved across the board. Client satisfaction is up 27%. Employee retention is at an all-time high, and we're training the next generation of leaders based on competence and character instead of who they're related to. The insurance company that threatened to drop us. They now use our safety protocols as a model for other clients. The regional inspector who witnessed the original confrontation. He's recommended us for industry safety awards 3 times. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd reacted emotionally that night. If I'd yelled back or walked out or tried to embarrass Adrian publicly. Short-term satisfaction maybe, but no long-term change. The system would have stayed broken, just with different people running it. Documentation defeated entitlement. Patience outlasted privilege. And systematic thinking created lasting change that protects everyone who comes after. The funny thing about real power is that it's not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself or demand attention. It just quietly makes sure things work the way they're supposed to work. And when someone tries to break those systems for their own benefit, real power has the evidence ready to restore proper order. That's the lesson here. Not that you should document everything out of paranoia, but that you should document everything out of professionalism. Not that you should wait for perfect moments to act, but that you should prepare thoroughly so you can act effectively when those moments come. Young Adrian wanted to modernize through destruction. I modernized through construction, built something stronger than what we had before. Something that serves the company, the employees, and the clients instead of just serving ego. The best revenge isn't getting even. It's building something so solid that the people who tried to tear it down become irrelevant to its success. 26 years of experience taught me that the loudest person in the room rarely controls what happens next. The people who actually run things just keep the systems working while everything else sorts itself out. And sometimes when entitled people mistake authority for competence, those systems have a way of correcting themselves. You just have to be patient, thorough, and ready when the moment comes. Listen, if you've ever dealt with someone at work who thinks their position gives them the right to ignore safety, disrespect experience, or put people at risk for their own advancement, here's what I learned. Don't fight them emotionally, fight them systematically. Document everything. Build relationships with people who understand the real stakes. And when the moment comes to present your case, make sure you're holding all the cards that matter. Because in the end, competence beats connections. Systems outlast personalities, and the company always needs people who know how to actually run things, regardless of who thinks they're in charge. The people who do the real work, we're not going anywhere. We just make sure everything keeps running while the drama sorts itself out.